everyone. My name is Alison Woodall, and I'm a relocation specialist. That means I get to help you with the financial, logistical, and emotional issues that make moving to a new state so stressful. And today I'm talking to Josh Long, and he's a realtor in the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area. Josh, welcome.
Thank you so much, Allison. It's great to be with you guys again.
Well, I am so excited to talk to you because I love Dallas. I lived about an hour and a half north of Dallas for 6 months, and I love everything about Texas. It's just the most wonderful state, and I love Dallas too. So I would love to get started with kind of what do you love about Dallas? Because obviously you've lived there for quite a while.
Yeah. Dallas in itself, as you can speak to it, specifically maybe even where you lived out in Paris. That's the actual part of Texas people expect to see when they get here, right? So DFW offers so many different vertical markets, meaning that, if you're looking for kind of an Orange County feel, there are Orange County feels here in the DFW area. And then there's the rural areas that are outside of suburbia that offer a little bit more of that rural small town ability, affordable houses, small schools. But really, most of those areas we're going to talk about today, and as we discuss, they're really within 15 to 20-minute drive of major metro shopping. But a lot of those rural areas are self-sufficient in the fact that they have enough to live and survive as far as shopping and, maybe even eateries. But in general, the one thing I love is you break down the metroplex into 4 quadrants in 4 major counties, and each county feels like it can almost be a different country. It really can. When you're talking about Denton County and then Dallas County and Collin County and then Tarrant County, it's great. Right now, 3 years ago, when families were looking to make a move to North Texas and they were looking for acreage, we could find it from just about everywhere. And 1 acre neighborhoods popping up everywhere. But in general, it's been really exciting. We have 3 different clients right now that we're helping out on the west side of Fort Worth in towns that have 70,000 people in them that are finding, new construction, 2,500 square foot houses on 1.5 acres for less than $450. So, that's one of the things that our team kind of specializes in knowing the different quadrants and what's happening, because we have clients that do want to live in, downtown lofts. And we have clients that are looking for better, more rural area for their kids for education. And I would say, obviously, this, Allison, as a relocation specialist, everyone throws their name out there specifically as that specialist type family. We've helped 59 families and we've helped people buy small ranchettes. We've helped people find, the rural suburban communities that really make sense. Just because you see Frisco online doesn't mean that Frisco is, that you're going to love Frisco over McKinney or Prosper, Salina, or Grapevine. There's all these different areas, but we have now serviced 9 different counties and families here in North Texas. And that can be anywhere from buying a 30-acre ranch out in the middle of Montague County, which most people wouldn't even consider. I had a family from Washington that just relocated and wanted 30 acres for kind of a homestead. So we've done just a little bit of everything. So.
Well, I love that. So when you talk about like these 4 quadrants, can you kind of explain what, kind of like what each one of those is like? So that someone may just, if you think Dallas, you just think a big city. But if you can explain a little bit more about each of those places, so someone would know kind of to start off with where might be a good fit for them.
Yeah. So let's talk about the 4 quadrants. Say the 4 quadrants are split. So it's like take a big square and you have I-35 that runs right through the middle of it. So that's going to be your north-south quadrant line. On the west side of that quadrant is Denton County and Tarrant County. So Tarrant County is where Fort Worth is at, and then Denton County obviously was where Denton and a lot of like Flowerman people, that are talking about the different areas that you may be thinking. You might be listening to this going, I've heard of Argyle, Flower Mound, Highland Village, Justin, Denton, these kinds of towns. Those are in Denton County, and then you have Tarrant County, which is right below. So as you're looking at our quadrant, you have the 2 top quadrants are Denton County and Collin County, and right below you have Dallas and Tarrant County. Dallas is obviously going to be very suburbanized, more, I would say, really going to feel a little bit more like your Southern California cities. A lot of beautiful big neighborhoods in Plano, Richardson, old style. We have a lot of our mid-century, traditionals, colonial, Tudor, craftsman style houses all over Dallas County. But you do have those different feels. So when you're in the north quadrant in Denton County, there are more performance horse ranches in Denton County than any other part in the United States. So you're going to be dealing with more horse type properties in around those, even around the cities that are developing. That is a high density for performance horse area. Tarrant County, you're going to be really entering into parts of West Texas. That's the entry level to going out to West Texas. And obviously, anybody that's been here and visited Texas in general knows that we really are 5 different countries, because the hill country, the Western Plains, the Western, West Texas, then you have the piney woods on the east side, and then you have the coastal plains, down by the Gulf. And so those different parts, they're significantly different. But like I said, on the west side, you've got Denton County, which is going to be very ag heavy. Still a lot of big cattle ranches, as well as a lot of horse, and then a lot of towns that are really developing that are great communities. One thing I do need to mention too is, really within the DFW quadrant, those 4 quadrants, we have 13 massive lakes. So if you're a water person, just about anywhere you live, you're going to be within about 30 minutes of 3 different lakes. So Tarrant County is obviously the southern western county. Obviously it's Cowtown. So it's big time cowboy. And as you move further out west, it becomes even more Western ranch style feel. And then you deal with the east side of the quadrant, which is Collin County, which is the county right above Dallas. And that's the northeast side. That is actually, Collin County is in the top 10 affluent counties in the nation. So you have Plano, Frisco, McKinney, Prosper, Salina, Wiley, cities like that are all per capita. You're going to have a lot of different feels in those different cities. McKinney is all based around family feel, parks, recreation, schools, a lot of green belts, all of the city, where Frisco looks a lot like Irvine or parts of Orange, California, where it's a lot more urbanized, and it has a lot more corporational businesses, such as Plano as well. But Plano gets cut in half as well. So regardless, Collin County is going to have a much more urbanized feel to it altogether, but with a little bit of suburbia. It's still far enough north that when you get to those cities, you don't feel like you're in downtown Dallas. But, like I'll take McKinney, for instance. Every square mile, there's a grocery store in McKinney. So you live within your neighborhood, you come out and there's grocery stores. You're not driving across town. It's a centrally located. The whole goal of the city of McKinney was to put together a family residing community, where Frisco's a little bit different, Plano's a little bit different. And then obviously you go to the southeast side of the quadrant, which is Dallas County. And that's a whole nother animal. I always tell folks that are moving, I'm gonna turn off my beep here because it's beeped a couple of times. I always tell families that when you come to I-35, you're going to have sushi on one side, and on the other side of that quadrant it's called fish bait. That's the difference of the 2 feels of the DFW area, and just the people that are on both sides. But we have a little bit of anything and everything. And now one misnomer that I like to touch on, and I will gladly throw this out there: Texans do not hate Californians by any means. In fact, most Texans in this aspect have been very welcoming, knowing that a lot of the Californians are coming, a lot of the California families that have come and are coming share a lot of their own values. And Texas was formed on rebellion when it really comes down to it. And Texans only care about, Texans, I always say they're fanatical. They're fanatical about being Texans before they're anything else. So as long as you embrace the values of who they are, they could care less where you're coming from. They just want to keep getting stronger and better. And so I've had a lot of families just go, are they going to hate us? And I said, I can tell you emphatically, no. Even in some of the rural areas, they have started to recognize that the families that are moving here, share the same family values and, social values. And, also obviously political comes into that as well. But in general, the DFW area has grown. And I know that's a topic, and I don't want to talk too much politics, because it's a part of it. It can go either direction. But I can say right now that in general, the West Coast move to Texas has been very positive for Texas as far as the red versus blue. Mm-hmm. I hear all the time on these Facebook groups, and I answer the question all the time: are we turning purple? We're not by any means. We actually got stronger in the last election because of California families that have moved. And so that's where I kind of come back to this and say, it's very much, your families are very much embraced right now. It's an area that you will find that you will be accepted, as long as you're, it comes with a caveat. If you love Texas, they'll love you. Let's put it that way.
That's the same anywhere. I wherever people go, if you love the people that you're surrounded by, you're interested in them, and you embrace, the food that they like, the things that they drink, the things that they do, and you don't judge it, you can't. It's very hard to dislike someone who loves you. And if you're a Californian and you've fully embraced whatever the locals do, when I moved here from England, everybody, I had the most amazing time, because whatever the local people told me to do, that was it. I mean, when I was in Paris, Texas, if they told me to starch my jeans, absolutely, I'm going to starch my jeans. So it's all about how you behave. It's not that you're a Californian or you're a Texan, or I always say it's how you treat people. But to me, there's the North and the South, and there's Texas, and it's a totally different mentality, so I don't think I have any more questions about your quadrants. You made that very clear, that you just need to decide before you get to Dallas what you're looking for, and then you'll find that place in the Dallas metro that suits you, if you're looking for land, or if you're looking for suburban, or if you're looking for downtown. My big thing is, when you think about a big city, you think about traffic, you think about congestion. But my experience of Dallas is it's set up for not just cars, but like enormous trucks. And it's so easy to get from one place to another. And yeah, sure, you get a bit of rush hour traffic, but it's not LA traffic. It's not Miami traffic. Would you agree with that?
Oh, wholeheartedly. I left my house today. I live in a small town called Gunner, Texas, which is well north of, it's not even in one of the 4 counties we talked about. And I can leave my house that has basically, I'm connected to the world by 2-lane highways. Let's put it that way. And I can be in my office in McKinney in about 30 minutes on about a 40-minute, it's about a 32-mile drive. I can be there in about 30 minutes. This morning I left and I had to be in downtown Dallas, and I was there in less than an hour. And so in general, I mean, you're absolutely right, Allison. I mean, in general, we have great freeway systems. The one thing that I know it's going to kind of touch on some nerves here, but one of the pro things about not living in the United States is government contracted roads and thoroughfares, and all that happens very quick. There's the incentivization of them getting roads and, the new systems, all of our thoroughfares and all of our travel, it gets done. You don't get an next job until you finish the one you said you can do by the time you get it done. So things get done fast. So we rarely have, everyone's driven through a state or through an area where they're like, man, there is road construction, major road construction every time we come through. It's been 20 years and they're still working on this road. I mean, over the last 20 years of living in the metroplex, or I'm sorry, it's been about 15 now, and I'm kind of combining my previous stay as well. I mean, the roads that are here now, I would say that almost a third to maybe 40% of the highways that exist in the areas that make up DFW didn't even exist, 20 years ago. And so you're right. I mean, I can leave McKinney and be in Fort Worth in 35, 40 minutes and no time. I mean, living in California for so many years, that's like leaving Ranch Cucamonga, going to LA and taking 2 hours. I mean, it's the same 30 miles. But yes, you hit that right on the head.
And the other thing is, do not sit in the fast lane, because someone in an enormous truck will come up right behind you and take you out. You've got to.
They just go right over the top of you.
Yeah, you've got to. Because I grew up in England, where you always stay. There's a slow lane and there's a passing lane and another passing lane, and you pass and pull in, pass and pull in. So this California thing, where you just pick a lane, ideally what I consider the fast lane, and just sit in it, going whatever speed you want. I-5 from LA to San Francisco would drive me insane, because these cars would they didn't follow what I consider the rules of the road. Well, in Texas, and I've seen people comment on this, you've got to stay in the middle or the slow lane, because those big trucks, they're going to go past you.
And I will confidently say this. I don't care how bad traffic or drivers are in California, and I've seen it. They are worse here. I always tell people that most Texans get in the car and don't know where they're going. They're just not going to be late. And when they get on the highway, they are rocking and rolling. So stay in the middle or to the right. Do not stay in the left lanes, because you will get run over.
Yes. Well, perfect. So now we've dealt with traffic. Just stay, don't get in that fast lane unless you're going to go really fast. Let's go back to properties and taxes, because obviously there's no income tax, state tax in Texas, and you've got great roads, so the money has to come from somewhere. So what are I presume your property tax rate is different across the whole metro area.
Correct.
Is it significantly higher than the rest of the US?
Yeah, as far as property taxes, we probably rank in the top 5 as far as statewide. We rank in the top 5 as highest property taxes. And And I'm glad you brought that up, because it's a question that I mean, every single conversation I've had, and I was talking to you before we got onto this Zoom call, but I had 4 conversations with 4 California families today, the initial conversations, and it's a conversation that comes up right off the bat. And it's not hard to explain, because in fact, we don't have an income state tax. We have very low sales tax. I look at it and one of the things that Drew and Katie and I do, and Drew and Katie and I are on my team. I mean, Drew and Katie are on my team, and we're all related, and they've all lived in California, so they all can relate to some aspects of that. But one of the things we try to do for all of our families is when they schedule their first time, if they give us some goals, we'll spend 2 to 3 days with them, driving them around everywhere, introducing them to cities and stuff, and then breaking down the taxes. Because the one tough thing to know about Texas is our cities and our school district lines don't follow. Meaning that when you see let's just use a Fort Worth property, for instance, or a Weatherford. In fact, I'm dealing with this with 2 clients right now. There are you can buy a brand new house in Weatherford that can be in Weatherford ISD, or it can be in Springtown ISD, and the taxes are going to be different based on what school district it's in, not the city. The city is specific. Their set taxes are what they are, but our school district lines don't follow the city lines, meaning that 100 years ago, when they drew out the school district lines, sometimes the school district lines out in the rural area would cover areas that were actually closer to Springtown than Weatherford. And so Springtown being a smaller district and a more private district, you might have, property taxes being 2.1, where in Weatherford, you're going to be at 1.8. So that's going to affect obviously your monthly payment based on the taxes. But when you get your tax bill, this is where I really wanted to head with this. When you get your tax bill or you see the property tax, it's broken into 2 different things. So almost in every situation, 40% of your taxes are going to go directly to your school district. So why is that important? Okay, well, I've lived on the West Coast, lived in California, and so when I pay my property taxes as well as my income state tax, it goes directly to the government to allocate where they want it to go. That's one of the reasons they have a failing school system. That 40% in our local areas gets earmarked and goes directly to the county and to the district. It doesn't go to the state level and come back. It is directly to the district. And so as we take these city tours, the crazy part is I've had families that have moved out here that their kids were going to Mater Dei in Santa Ana, California, which is probably one of the more illustrious private educations in Southern California. And you're paying $25,000 to $30,000 a child to go there. And they come out here and they look at McKinney, they're in Plano, and they see the schools and the facilities and everything that comes with it. And they're going, oh my gosh, they can see where their tax dollars are going. Now, obviously, if your kids aren't in school districts and you're thinking about relocating, that hurts a little bit because you're not paying into that. But school districts sell houses. There are certain specific areas in Plano that if you're in this school district, it's not as high of a sales price point as if you're in this school district. So it gets broken down, and it's a great question because, as you said, about 20% goes directly to the local county and the thoroughfares and streets that are in that county. So that's covered by your taxes. School is covered by your taxes, as well as a lot of local jurisdictions and cities. So when you break it all out, I would much rather pay even at the high end. And there's a couple places here in North DFW that you can even get close to 3%. But I would much rather pay 3% in property tax and see where all my dollars going than paying 16 to 17% income state tax in a state that can't show me where any of my money goes. And so
I would agree. And then
it's a total trade-off.
Yeah. And the other thing is, if you're paying property tax, you can choose to live in a cheaper house and not pay as much in property tax. And then you've still got all that extra money from your income. So I would always rather, pay property tax, even if it is a little higher. All right. So you touched on the lakes, and you touched on, tell me some more things that there are to do in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, kind of from amenities and obviously you've got excellent schools. What about hospitals, jobs, healthcare, that kind of thing? You've got everything that you need?
So obviously most people, it's a buzzword over the last really 5 to 10 years that the economy in Texas is booming. And so economy wise, we have 54 of the top 300 Fortune 500 companies just in the metroplex. And so economy wise, we're not in a bubble, but as this market's going to start correcting over the next couple of years nationally, because it will start correcting this boom that we're going through. I feel like we're going to be a little bit more insulated. And the reason being is we don't have the production going on homes wise than we have the people that are moving here. And so in general, our real estate market is going to stay extremely strong. Even if interest rates going up, we're going to stay strong. But the economy, because of how many corporations we don't just have families moving to Texas, we have massive corporations moving from all over the country. we have a new corporation coming in from Ontario, Canada, that's relocating their whole corporate offices to Dallas, Texas. Property taxes, and also incentivizing the state taxes and business tax. I don't see that slowing down. As long as that's not slowing down, our builders can't keep up with the amount of people that are moving here. So that keeps your resale market strong as well, because the consumer doesn't necessarily have a secondary option of new construction to go towards. So your values are staying very strong. But yes, in general, the economy is phenomenal. We have phenomenal healthcare systems with the Baylor Scott and White, the Presbyterian hospitals. And obviously in California, I don't know if it's in Northern California as much as in Southern California, but we do have a lot of clients that ask about Kaiser. We don't have a private system like that, like in Southern California with the Kaiser system. But in general, I live right now 30 minutes away from 9 major hospitals. I'm really only about 15 minutes, even out in the middle of the country. I'm really only about 15 minutes from from TMC, which would be a Trauma One hospital up in Sherman and Denison. I'm only 15 minutes from there, or I'm 20 minutes away from 3 different hospitals in McKinney, Frisco, and in a new one that's now coming in Salina as well. So healthcare is a big thing in Texas as well. We have a lot, all throughout the metroplex. You're really never going to live anywhere, further away from, 15, 20 minutes from a major hospital, depending on what you choose. If you're living in an urbanized area, you're going to have 4 or 5 hospitals per city. So a lot to choose from.
Well, perfect. I'd never experienced Kaiser till I moved to Northern California, and I thought it was horrible.
Yeah, I've never had it. I just know that certain families, because of their jobs, have it, and it's something that we don't have a system like that at all. So
it's very easy. You everything's all in one place, but the quality of care you get. We were there for a year and a half. And the moment I came back to Georgia and went back, I don't like Blue Cross Blue Shield either. Sure. But immediately an issue I'd been dealing with that Kaiser never spotted came back here, and they were like, "Oh, it's this," and I was like, "Really? Kaiser never?"
You figured it out.
Yeah, so you can say, if anyone was like, "Oh, I miss Kaiser," you can be like, "I don't know why."
Yeah.
There's much better things out there. Okay, so perfect. So you've got excellent schools, healthcare, booming economy, tons of choices of places to live. I know your airports are excellent, because I've flown in and out of DFW many, many times. I hate the fact that the rental car location is so far from the hospital, from the airport. So you've got lakes, you've got, what other kind of recreation things are there to do in the area?
Yeah, the hard part is, recreation wise, if you're an outdoor extremist, this is a great place to be, because you have the lake systems and things like that. You have a lot of massive mountain biking areas. If you're an outdoorsman with hunting and fishing, that all takes care of it. The one thing that I will say that North Texas, and really Texas in general, does overall, we cannot compete or cannot. I miss waking up every morning and seeing the mountains. We have to go to northern New Mexico, or we have to go to Colorado, and you'll see a massive explosion of people. With spring break coming up, Colorado and New Mexico love us because we come and spend a ton of money, and it's like the whole state leaves for 2 weeks, and we all go to Colorado and New Mexico to ski and see the mountains and stuff of that nature. But in general, we have a lot of water parks. We have one of the top ranked zoo in the United States with the Fort Worth Zoo. Dallas Zoo is now in the top 10. We have all kinds of cultural districts in Dallas and in Fort Worth. Great museums. There's, with an exception of having oceans, we just don't have them. We don't have oceans. We don't have beaches. We don't have mountains and oceans. But inside of that, horse walk. If you're an agricultural person, there are, opportunities to get out there on horses everywhere around the metroplex. And there's areas where you can get on your motorcycles or your off-roading Jeeps, and you can go out all of the different places and stuff. And so, the one thing that we lack is the topography of mountains and beaches, which a lot of families, oddly enough, I'm one of them. I lived next to the mountains in Southern California and rarely went up there when I lived there. I just liked looking at them, and, never really took advantage of the beaches as well, because I lived about an hour from the beaches. So you like to see it, but then you also start to kind of realize when you're here, the quality of life can really diminish the need or the necessity for those two. But anything you can think of doing, every weekend during the spring and summer, you're going to see a lot of hot air balloons going all over the metroplex. There's all kinds of recreation in that, and hang gliding and things of that nature. So it's an outdoors person's paradise. It just, like I said, we lack the foundational structures that go stretch the sky, and the ones that have the waves that come in and out. So,
well, don't worry, because that's what vacations are for. Because
that's exactly right. Alabama and Florida love Texas because in spring break in the summers, everybody's headed to Gulf Shores or Destin. During the spring break and winter, everybody's headed to northern Colorado and Wyoming and New Mexico. In fact, my family, we have our spring break tradition is always going to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and going and skiing for 4 days. And it's a 9-hour drive, but it's reasonable, and you get to stay there. And it's like I said. If you love mountains, the deserts, the topography, you can drive within 3 hours of DFW. You can be in San Antonio on the boardwalk in the hill country, and you can see all those and go down and float the 5 different rivers that are in the hill country and go down and really enjoy some of those historical towns like New Braunfels and, Fredericksburg and some of those areas around San Antonio. And then honestly, I can leave right now. Traffic's gotten changes up a little bit, but Beck and I can leave the house and be in Galveston in 4 hours. We can, get a beach house down there and go down there for the weekend or something of that nature. So realistically, while it's a massive state, DFW is centrally located to a majority of east and south in the hill country, that it's not that long of a drive. Or you can be in Oklahoma in the mountains, in the Arbuckle Mountains, and then Broken Bow or Beaver's Bend in 2 hours from DFW, or be in some of the Arbuckle or even the Ozark Mountains in Arkansas in less than 4 hours. So I don't want to call us a geographical oddity, but really within 4 hours, you can do just about anything you'd like to do.
I would agree. And it goes back to the great roads and such easy driving. Once you get out of that, the metroplex, you're on big open straight roads, and it's very easy. Yeah, well, wonderful. Well, if someone wants to work with you, what is the best way to contact you?
Well, so it's a couple different things. A lot of our families have come through leaving California or life after California because of the history that Terry and I have had. People can reach out to us, go to our Facebook group. You can find us in those groups. But in general, we do a lot of posting in there just of things happening in the metroplex, as well as properties that are coming on the market. So people can see a variety. I want people to see varieties of, hey, if you're looking for a $250,000 house on a third of an acre and you just want quality of life, that exists all the way up to the ranchettes and, Prosper, Salina, those type of areas, or Flower Mound, or, even Irving or Fort Worth. But simply, you can find us on Facebook. It's Signature Home Team. You can find us on Messenger. A lot of families start with Messenger, and quite frankly, our team, we try to do the very best we can to be in those Facebook groups daily. And so when someone asks a question, we try to pipe back in with not only just an answer, and we try to do it privately as well. We don't want to make it like we're just constantly soliciting. People ask questions. There are times it's easier to answer questions with a phone call or even a private message. And so we will traditionally see, and I will put this in here over the weekend again, but we will traditionally send out our DFW relocation guide, which is actually like 15 pages of all kinds of great information about all the different areas, just introducing you with thoughts. And then we start with Facebook Messenger, requests like that. And then we try to schedule calls because ultimately more can be accomplished in a 10-minute phone call than in times going back and forth with text. But they can reach out to me. They can text me at my phone number, which is 469-215-8936. You can email me at joshualong@remax.net. And one of us, I take pride in trying to, almost return every phone call and email to start the relationship myself. Obviously we have a lot of families coming in and out. And so a lot of times I will introduce them to the thought that, hey, when you're on the west side of the metroplex, I'm going to be working with you, but Drew's going to be working with us. And if you're on the east side, it's going to be Katie and I, just trying to make sure that when families get here, first and foremost, they get a friendly smile and, some information from us prior to getting here so that we can have an actual guided plan for their visit. One of the things I was just talking about with a family right before I got on with you is, schedule an extra date. And I'm going to schedule a whole date of things that you and your family should be doing, just enjoy and take a vacation day. It can't always be about coming out and looking at all the areas. You want to make a vacation and see all the amenities that come along with it. We're going to show you the areas you're talking about you might want to live, but we want you to experience the whole factor. And in that book and in a lot of the literature or things that we send out to people, we give them a lot of suggestional hotels and things that they can do in the afternoons and things and places to eat with their family. You brought that up and we didn't talk a whole lot about that, but Tex-Mex and authentic Mexican food are very different. And so I love both because I grew up with Texans as family members and parents. And so we always ate Tex-Mex. That was what I grew up with. And then my wife, her whole family was complete authentic Mexican food from Southern California. So I love both, but they are very, very different. And I can now tell you where at least 7 authentic Mexican food restaurants that have moved from Southern California are, so that you can get your California burritos and that you can get your carne asada and things of that nature. So, but yeah, you can reach out by finding me on Messenger. Facebook Messenger, or you can go to our Facebook page, or like I said, you can call, text, or email me. Whatever was best for you. We're going to communicate with you the way you prefer to be communicated with. So.
Well, perfect. And I will put all of the contact information wherever you're watching this video. There'll be all the links in the comment section.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I love Dallas. I had just the best time, even though I was a little bit further north during the week. I would come back at weekends, drive all over Texas. Dallas is just the most wonderful place. And thank you so much for sharing all that information with us.
No problem. Alison, thank you for your time today.